Is it spring yet there? Oh, hello. And now we are live. Um, Welcome to AFMI's annual Arab Women's Showcase, 6 days, 6 nights, revolutionary Arab women in the arts, past, present, and future. My name is Beshouy Botros. I am honored today with these two wonderful guests who I will introduce. Right after I tell you a little bit more about the Arab Film and Media Institute. We are the first organization of its kind outside of the Arab world, and we host the longest running Arab film festival in the United States. We were rebranded from the Arab Film Festival in 2017 to the Arab Film and Media Institute to fulfill our broader mission to empower local Arab talent to tell their community stories in their own voices and develop Arab film and media projects. Through film, education, mentorship, and new media, our mission is to enhance public understanding of Arab culture and its diasporas and provide insight into the beauty, complexity, and diversity of the Arab worlds. So today I am honored to be joined by Susani Mahadura and Kelet Ali, our honored guests from Finland. I will read your brief introductions and then we'll hop into what I hope will be an open and free-flowing conversation. We'll be taking some audience questions as well, so feel free to drop those in the chat. Susani Mahadura is a journalist and a household name in Finnish media for her radio program, which discusses social and political issues in the country. Her first short documentary was an animation telling her mother's love story, and since then she's done a lot of work in human interest storytelling, centering on a variety of experiences. And Kelet Ali is a supermodel, a community leader in the ballroom scene, both in Finland and beyond, and an emerging on-screen talent. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, this evening, where you are, and for joining AFMI for this conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. We're so happy to be part of this. And to meet you, Beshouy. We love you.
Well, thank you. I love being with you and having you. I'm really excited to talk about this film. I've seen it multiple times through now. I think there's so much that we can get into. I think the first thing I want to ask you both about is sort of how you found each other and how you found this film together, or how you made this film together, because it is a beautiful piece that feels like it was created in partnership, right?
Well, Kelet, you can start. You can start telling the story.
Well, from my perspective, what happened was I had just came back from the UK to Finland, and it was a very hard ride for me there the last years. So when I came back there, I wanted to just change my life completely. One of the things was entering ballroom, just try to do things out of my comfort zone. And one of those things, like I said, was the ballroom. And another was when the opportunity presented itself. Susani had called my friend Lola and said, "Do you want to be a part of our radio show?" And Lola said, "No, but I want to nominate this newcomer, this young girl, Kelet." And that's when I went there. We had discussions about trans experiences in Finland, how it differs from. There was another guest there as well, a white trans woman named Mira Eskelinen, and we were talking about those differences for white and black trans women and things like that. If I remember correctly, it's been a while, so I don't remember correctly. But after that, Susani and I, we really connected, as did me and Yamur, but me and Susani especially. And then I invited her to my first ball, April in Paris, ball. And she actually came, which I was not suspecting, but she actually came and she saw me win my first trophy, walk my first ball. And from there, I'll let you, Susani, tell your part of the story.
Oh my gosh, I still remember
Right, so
the
how did it become a film?
yeah. So the first ball that I went to see where I saw Kelet was kind of like a wow. Um, you have to understand that Finland, Helsinki is quite a small city, and the ballroom culture was at that point, let's say, it was quite small. It's been growing all the time, and I never went to a ball. So when I saw Kelet, doing her first runway, I was like, wow, she had something in her, the way she walked, and the energy was just something. And I was like, it's not enough that we have one interview with Kelet in radio. Like, we need to make room for Kelet to tell her story in a film. So I went home and I was restless and I was like, I can't sleep. Like, I need to send Kelet a message. And I was like, we need to tell your story. Let's make a film. And then she was like, if I remember correctly, Kelet said, let me think about it. Give me 2 weeks. And then it took only a few days and she was like, let's do it. And that's how it started.
I mean, and it's really special because part of the film it's a little bit like a diary of Kelet's journey as she's making different moves and different transitions throughout her life, and part of it is a bigger story about the ballroom scene in Helsinki, about queer refugee communities. Can you talk a little bit about how these two narratives between the story of the community and then Kelet's journeys within this community, but also beyond it, how you line those up?
Well, first of all, for me, it was mostly I wanted to tell Kelet's story. So I started to, I spent a lot of time with Kelet. We were at the studio where we would have hours and hours and hours of conversation. And it would be a dialogue. I mean, it would not just be kind of me asking questions about Kelet. It was us discussing, issues about life, about family, community, belonging. And then I started to realize that this is something bigger than just Kelet's. I mean, there is a bigger story here, and it's telling the story of a community, the chosen family. As you can see in the film, it's Kelet, Lola, Ofinia, Amanda, the family. And then I understood that there are levels to this story where at the same time we are talking about structural racism in Finland, and we're talking about our laws that are insulting and that break the human rights of transgender people living in Finland. And then I realized that this movie it's it's political. It's something that really changes society. So I did not think about it. I realized that along the way we were doing the film, but mostly I concentrated in Kelet, her thoughts and her life and her moments. But I mean, Kelet, you can continue from there.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, you kind of realize how important and how, like Susani said, political, and how much effect this kind of thing has, and how much of the narratives have. But in the moment, it's just me going about my business with a camera there.
Exactly.
So.
But what I love is that you going about your business is also you being in community. It's you and Lola making dinner together, and it's this intimate and loving relationship that's so present throughout the film, or it's you leading the Pride Parade march.
Oh my gosh, that was a good day. It
That was
was.
a day. It was like
Amazing.
a sunny and fun day. Do you want to tell me more about that day?
See, that day, I think we were all supposed to actually join the march, but Pride starts a little bit before the actual march. So there were celebrations, and some people were already too tired from the celebrations. I said, no, this is my first Pride in a while, so I wanted to go. We went there. I don't know, I got a flag from one of the big old buses that were riding. So I was pretty much there by myself at the front. No one put me there. I just said, you know what? I feel like being in the front today. So we went to the front and we just it was great.
That is great. Thank you for bringing us back to a moment in which celebration and that kind of gathering is possible. Hopefully again soon. If we have any questions from the audience or people in the audience have questions, please drop them in. Otherwise, I want to ask about runway and ballroom and sort of what it's been like for you navigating these two worlds. So the film starts in the ballroom scene.
Yeah. And it starts with me as a baby in the ballroom scene. And somehow, even though it's been so many years, a lot of things have been accomplished. Some say that even this movie is a historic part of Finnish ballroom. I still feel like a baby in the ballroom community. It's something that always, well, I don't know if all might agree, but I feel it's always something that's changing. Maybe it's because Finland, the ballroom scene, a lot of people like Venla and Virpi, Kurkihovi, and Venla Vuori and Rosa Ahmed have done a lot to make it what it is now. But the way it's changing, it always feels different every ball you go to. So I always see new people, always see new categories. So I still feel like I'm a baby. I haven't really experienced ballroom like New York or Paris would have you experience it. But yeah, runway. Oh, well, you know what? There's only one time, twice, or one time I've won runway. I'm just gonna say, my walk, just like art. I'm a little bit of a mess right now. Let me just get myself together. But one of the judges, that was for the Archie ball, Archie himself, Archie Ninja, and Amber Vineyard from Holland.
From Holland.
They actually gave me some tips. They said your runway is good, your walk is very good, you have a very nice movement to yourself, but with ballroom, runway is a whole lot more than that. You have to have a whole lot of tricks up your sleeve. You have to, keep the girls entertained. It's more like a show even, and I still have not mastered that.
I mean, but it's such a process that Susani, I think you do such a special job showing us the studio where they're practicing different routines, and then taking us from the ballroom to the runway of Helsinki Fashion Week, right? Do you feel like those are two different worlds, or do you feel like your work in ballroom has followed you to Fashion Week, or you take it with you to Fashion Week?
Me?
Yeah.
In a way, well, you can definitely. The thing is, when you are walking runway at a fashion show or going to a photo shoot, the things that you learn from ballroom, you will take there with you. Absolutely. Because, ballroom is just, I'm not going to say just, but it is like a fashion show or runway show, but just cranked up that, many levels. So you learn a lot of fabulous things from there. So of course you take it to there, but themselves they are kind of separate. So definitely it made the final product of my photo shoots and my runway better. But maybe in here, not so much as in Paris or New York or in the United States, maybe it doesn't lead to that many connections. Ballroom is like a hobby where you learn things, you come here and learn, but a lot of people then have their own side hustle and their own connections outside of that. But it's changing very rapidly with how ballroom is growing and with how we have, the community of ballroom and the people that know each other in it have all, become very big in their own right. So now we're networking with each other. So now it's becoming like very connected.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about this change because I feel like the film coming out it changed your life and it changed Susani's life as well. The film is a bit of a phenomenon and definitely in Finland, but also, what does it mean that a community that was so tight knit and is kind of on the edge of cultural life is now getting all of this attention. Susani, I'm really interested in what your perspectives are on this as a journalist, but also what this film means for for launching your career because Kelet, girl, like you're blowing up now, like
Yeah.
the face queen of Finland is out here. But you started working with different designers after this film, so I guess I'm so it's really interesting to talk about this film now because it's a time capsule, right? It captures your experiences and it's the experiences of the ballroom community in a particular moment. But now that you've made this film, your career has launched, the ballroom scene has changed a lot, and now is getting a lot more attention. So I'm really curious about Susani, what that's like for you to navigate as a journalist, and Kelet, what that's been like for you to navigate um, uh, as a professional model now. So
Susani, I'm gonna let you take that while I lubricate my throat.
All right. So, yeah, when I met Kelet the first time, you were 19, right? I think you were
Around that age,
19.
yeah, real young.
You were really young. And as you said, it was the time when Kelet had just come to Finland. And when Kelet was at our studio, the radio studio, she was constantly saying, I'm really shy and I'm not good at expressing myself, and she was telling all these things that I'm really insecure, and I was like, I just saw the I just saw that Kelet one day she will change Finland. I mean, big words, but I mean it. There was something in her that I was just like, we have to do everything we can so that we will give her the platform to speak up. And the problem in Finland is, like in many countries, that the marginalized people of color living in Finland, marginalized people of color, we don't get platforms to speak up. Our stories are not told. If you look at the news, you mostly see white people. So for me, I was just focused on that. We have to give Kelet the space to speak up. And as we were doing the film, and our relationship got deeper and deeper, and it grew into a beautiful friendship. And how I saw Gelet was, growing as a person, getting all these opportunities, reaching for her dreams, and that, that girl that I met that was insecure and that was saying that I will never, I'm not going to be able to reach my dreams. And then I saw her, reaching every dream, one dream after another. And now when we had the premiere and there was like 500 people in the audience, we were like, is anybody going to come, and it was sold out. And they had to make 4 or 5 more auditions or screenings because people wanted to see it in Helsinki. I haven't experienced anything like that in my career, how the love and the support for Kelet, for the community. And since that, they have been performing in big festivals in Finland. And every time I see them performing, every time I see Kelet on a cover of a magazine or in an interview, I cry every time. I'm so proud of her. And I always tell Kelet that she made not history, but her story, and it's a very special moment in Finland. So as a journalist, of course, for me, I believe in, storytelling. I believe that we can change the world for better with storytelling. That's, for me, the biggest reason why I do what I do. And I'm just so happy to see Kelet, shining bright.
Oh gosh, you about to make me cry. Goodness.
Oh no.
My answer to that let's start by saying the whole process of making the documentary was very difficult for me, especially in the beginning, because I had gone from someone who for 18 years had been conditioned to believe that everything that who I am pretty much is hellbound and disgusting and wrong and all that kind of stuff. So obviously it creates a person who's going to be thinking that of themselves when it comes to anything. I was not applying myself to anything. I wasn't trying anything. I wasn't going after my dreams because I felt like, I was, even though it didn't have to do anything with being trans, for example, going back to school has nothing to do with me being trans or hell or all that kind of stuff. But that mentality was still in here so deeply that I didn't have the courage or the power of it in me to even attempt that. So when the documentary first came, it really was so scary to me, the whole idea of it. But after a while, thinking of how not only could it benefit me, putting myself out there, I believe really I know for some people it's not as simple, but I do believe that if there is something that makes you uncomfortable, for example, speaking in public or something that causes you anxiety, doing it, putting yourself in that position might actually help you overcome it. So I thought, okay, let me just think about not only myself, but for those who are in my position, how it could help them as well. And the way, I'm trying to find the right words here, it really shows, I think in the movie too, how it transformed me from this person who once did believe that, I was going to hell and all these thoughts deeply ingrained in me, to someone who, recognized their self-worth or is going to a path where they are not so afraid anymore of the world or of, being who they are. And I do believe that because of that, it did resonate with a lot of people, and it did receive such surprisingly, because I was very, very scared. One of the reasons I was scared was because I thought I was gonna have a target on my back after this came out. But the reason why I feel like it was so successful and people liked it was because I feel like a lot of people can relate to a lot of the themes of the movie, regardless of whether or not they are trans or black or anything, or old or young or anything. Because a lot of people go through those same things, have those same doubts. So seeing a person who was able to overcome that, as slow as it might have been, might be something that a lot of people were samaistu. We can samaistu have a similarity to, right? But yeah, the whole process behind the scenes was very difficult, and it included a lot of Susani saying, "Hey, I think this would be a good idea." For example, that thing with my father. In the beginning, I was completely against anything mentioning my family, completely and totally against it. But then afterwards, I kind of warmed up to it. I certainly wasn't ready to, sit with my father on camera ever, but I did warm up to just speaking about it because, like I said, not only did I realize how beneficial it would be, but Susani was also the kind of person who never was like, she never pressured me. Like she said, she wanted to tell my story the way I wanted to tell it. She always gave ideas, like the one where we did talk about the father, but if I was not comfortable with it, then she would just let it be. And then she would also be there for me. She would talk to me about these things, and she would, in a way that wasn't so like invasive, she would get me to a place where I was comfortable about talking about these things openly. So
Yeah, thank
but
you for
yeah.
sharing. It's such an honest and intimate film that is not just about identities, but it's about becoming, and it's about dreaming and becoming. And actually, I mean, I'm really glad you mentioned that trip to Manchester and seeing your father, because I appreciated not seeing that on camera. I think Susan, like and I love hearing what you said about how Susani helped support you telling your story in ways that felt right for you. Like you were a part of this process, which I think is very different than how biopics or human interest stories are told by people who are not women of color. It is a documentary that is truly a collaboration. Susani, I'm really curious specifically about the trip to Manchester and this decision not have um, to not have that conversation on screen or on camera between Kelet and her father, and and the refusal to represent that, but seeing Kelet with her friend, who's also transitioning right before it, and seeing Kelet right after, it gives you a very intimate sense of it without crossing boundaries, and while respecting deeply Kelet and her wishes and her family. I wonder if you could speak a little bit to sort of your practice as a journalist and as a documentarian who focuses on people and who focuses on very intimate and personal stories that need to be told. But how do you approach telling those stories such that they are respectful and respected?
well, you just said the most important word there, Beshouy. You said respect. And for me, when we started with Kelet, it was always about respect and about building a trust, a deep trust with her. And it took years. We didn't start talking about the relationship with Kelet and her dad right away. I would ask, how do you feel about coming to Finland and so on? And if Kelet would say, I don't want to talk about that, then I would say, we're not going to talk about that then. Then it would maybe take months, maybe a year. And then one day Kelet would come to the studio, and all of a sudden she would open up and be like, started to talk about the relationship and maybe giving a chance of that moment when Kelet sat on the sofa and she was like, you know what, I understand my parents and what they're going through. And I was like, wow, something is happening here at this point. And if she would want to talk about it, then we would talk about it. The trip to Manchester kind of, I don't even know how it happened. I was just like, I said to Kelet, do you think, what if we would go to Manchester? And it was just a crazy idea that popped in my mind, because I knew Kelet had a brother and siblings in Manchester, and she would talk about them. So then, of course, Kelet was like, no way, we're not going there. And then again, a few months, and then at some point we were just like, okay, let's go, right? But when we went to Manchester, it was clear to me from day one that, of course, I don't believe as a journalist or a storyteller that we have to show everything on screen. The people that are watching Kelet's story, they can feel those, those moments where we don't really see what's actually happening. They can fill them with, the heart, and when Kelet spoke about that moment when they met with the father, I thought it was, for me, it's actually one of the most beautiful scenes of the whole movie, when Kelet is dancing, and then, in the background, you can hear the voiceover where Kelet describes how the meeting with the father went. And it was beautiful for me, because most colleagues that I talked to, they were like, it's not going to be a good scene if you don't show that. And I was like, no, we're definitely not going. It's an intimate moment. Kelet hasn't seen her father for a long time. That's not the place where you take the camera. Definitely not. I think it would have been unethical, completely unethical. You have to know where you have to give people space to go through, big things in their life in private. And we can tell that in another way. And for me, it was like, wow, we can now use the imagination of how we create this beautiful moment in another way. And also I have to tell, in Manchester, we meet Kelet's brother, Max, who is also going through transition. And that filming, that happened just by mistake. Oh, not mistake, by accident, kind of. Remember, Kelet? We went to...
Max was not comfortable with the cameras either.
Tell the story.
We spent some time together. We went out to eat. We had a few drinks. And then Max was like, you know what? I'm ready for the cameras. And then that happened, that scene where we were at the bar and we went downstairs to talk. Of course, it was at a bar because we were drinking a little bit. And then we had gotten to know each other. The atmosphere was kind of like very welcoming, very friendly, very warm with each other. And then my brother was like, you know what? Let's do it. And then,
And
just like me, he stepped in front of the camera after a little bit of warm up.
And it was, you know, for me as a storyteller, that was a point where I realized, wow, because when Kelet's brother was like, you know, he doesn't want to be filmed, I said, okay, fine. And I said to the crew, you know, put your cameras away. Now we're just going to have the night off, spend time with Kelet's friends, with Kelet's brother, have fun. And we were dancing together and we were discussing, you know, all sorts of things. It was a great, great night. And then I said to Kelet, you know, let's go and do the last interview outside with just you, me interviewing you of you know how it feels to be here and celebrate with your family and friends. And then we went outside and we were filming. And then all of a sudden, Kelet's brother Max comes here, and then I looked on the side and I was like, "Do you want to go in? You know, in the shoot?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then he went to sit next to Kelet, and the conversation was really amazing. And after that, Max came to, you know, talk to me, and he was like, you know, at first when he heard that Kelet is coming with a filming crew to Manchester, he was kind of like, no, I don't wanna, because he didn't know who I was, he didn't know my intentions. But when he saw me and saw the crew, saw, you know, the friendship and the trust was able to build, that's when he said, okay, let's film. And that for me is, you know, the most important core value of storytelling, the respect.
And you can feel it. You can feel it. There's so much love in this film. Thank you for sharing all of that. It's one of the most special scenes. I want to talk about one of my favorite scenes. Is that okay?
Yes, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
My favorite scenes are in this lush forest.
Nuxio, yes.
And they're at the very beginning of the film and at the very end of the film. And it's this magical paradise that you I mean, you look angelic in those shots. And it's watching them felt like hearing poetry being read. I mean, there's there's also some reflections that you're making from those woods about your life, about finding peace, about finding centeredness, but also just visually they were so stunning. I want to hear more about that special place and sort of what it is to find that special place within yourself and then to share it and to invite others to come in, you know, to invite others to the secret place in the forest where you go to get away from all the noise, and bring an audience.
I mean, well, this place actually has very special meaning for me. This was a place that we discovered with my oldest friend, not oldest as in age, but like my very first and longest friend I've had in my life that I'm still friends with. We used to go ever since we were young. We used to hop on a bus and go to these woods in the summer together, just the very place that the very area that we filmed in. So it always was a very special place for me. And that's why Susani took us there when she heard me tell her this, because it was a place for me for us to just be. It was a place that felt safe. It was a place that was beautiful and calming and relaxing and all of those things. So it just made sense to include, you know, a scene where I was there because it has a very special meaning for me. I hadn't been there in a long time before, you know, we went there again for the documentary. So it did bring all kinds of emotions back. It was a very special place for me. I remember filming that too. It was a whole lot of It was a whole lot of fun. We went there, we grilled hot dogs, and then they filmed me. They would be like, okay, get it right there. You look perfect. Just stay still there for 5 minutes. And I would be like, for 5 whole minutes. It was a great day. It was. And the way it was filmed, actually, I know it was shot in the beginning, but that was actually, I think, the last scene we filmed. The very last scene that we filmed was going to the woods. But I'm kind of glad that how you edited it, that you brought it to the beginning, because that was also, a very important part of my life in the beginning of my, life. So it was kind of nice that it was showed in the movie like that, because that's where a lot of the thinking that led to eventually person who I am now, that's where it kind of started, this forest and this place.
Susani, do you have anything to add about that scene?
Yeah, for me, the scene with Kelet being in that special forest, beautiful forest, actually, that's one of my favorite scenes too. All of the scenes are my favorite, but for me, it was. I see Kelet. There is two beautiful sides to Kelet. There is the ballroom, the glamorous side of Kelet, and then there is this deeper side to her. I always tell Kelet, you're such a poet, because she is. She thinks the philosophy, how sometimes when we would film her and she would start talking, I would be like, wow. I mean, this girl is 20 and she's talking about things that usually you hear, elderly people with a lot of experience talk. Like, she is super wise. And of course, that has to do with everything she had to go through in such a young age. So the forest for me symbolizes definitely that side to Kelet, that poet, that thinker, that philosopher, that needs to sometimes, step back, spend time with herself, be with her own thoughts. I wouldn't say introvert. I don't know if that's the right word, but definitely something that, there is two strong sides to her, and I thought that we have to show that other side to Kelet, that place where she's at peace.
I love that you did that because it gives so much interiority. We move from, the queer nightlife scene and ballroom and chosen family and, people looking fabulous. And then we go to this quiet place where we get to deeply listen to, who Kelet is, what's going on inside of her beautiful mind, and you need both, right? And the editing at the end of the film, I don't want to give it away. People have until March 30th to watch this film, or find it on streaming services. But we kind of move from, at the end of the film, from the forest into like a music video very quickly, right?
Yeah.
It's actually something I wanted to ask Kelet about, because you're working on something. You have some musical projects cooking up, don't you?
Oh, see, the thing is, I'm a part of a performance group called the Femme Queens of Finland now. We used to be called Gorgeous House of Gucci Finland, the Finnish chapter. But now, since we actually have a member that is not a part of Gorgeous House of Gucci, we are just called the Femme Queens of Finland. And we wanted to create a new number that we can perform after this coronavirus situation has died down and people can go out to, events like that. And so for the new show, we've made some music for it, or we've been thinking about making some music for it that hopefully will be done before. Uh, I don't want to put a timeline on it yet, but it's in the works. A new
There's no
show, new outfits, new music, a whole lot of more femme queens.
And are you the house mother?
Oh, girl, I wish. Actually, I don't wish. No, there really is no house mother. But if you would say anybody's the house mother, it's Lydia. I remember Lydia Femia. She's the one who is the most, uh, who can respond to the emails the most, the one who keeps up the task and reminds us of things. So if there was a house mother, it would be her. But there really is no house mother. We are sisters, all in equal standing in here.
I love that, and I'm glad you're not the one who has to like deal with the emails or all the management
Oh
stuff.
no, don't get me wrong. I do deal with the emails.
Okay,
I
I'm not gonna.
certainly do answer the emails. Get shit moving. Even the whole music video thing is being done by Susani's the man who I know is probably hearing us right now, who did the music for the documentary, who is Susani's
Oh,
partner. So yeah, she will be helping us with that too. So it's a very close knit thing. And I do answer emails. I do when it's time for like a photo shoot or something, I do try my best to work things out if I have connections. So yeah,
well,
everybody brings their kind of own thing.
and what's beautiful about the ballroom scene is that now that you're sort of established, you get to do this big sister or mothering work for girls who are still coming up, right? Be a sort of mentor and role model. I mean, your story has touched so many, like in Finland and around the world. Um, but but the fact that the house kind of gives you an intimate community where you can be a mother and a sister and a leader and a friend and also um, an extended family. It's a
Right.
beautiful thing.
Even though um I don't feel like I'm at a point right now where I can be anything that is even close to a mother to anyone. I'm at the point where I'm trying to get myself together and trying to get myself there, and it's a lot of work already enough. Don't have the I don't have it in me to be a mother at this point, but I'm a terrific sister.
You're a
I'm a
terrific.
wonderful sister. And but that is true that it has brought to light for a lot of young queer people the existence of a community like this. So it has brought a lot of people to the fold where we can maybe not mothers, but be like aunties, you know, uh, and be, like you said,
Yeah.
extended family, where it's good that a lot of people have now a place to look for these things if they are, needing guidance, help, or want to participate balls or have any questions about being trans or anything. They can they have now some avenues to look at with ballroom and with the podcast that we're doing, for example,
Right.
things like that.
They have support and they have resources. And the podcast is in
Mhm.
Finnish.
It's in Finnish. Well,
Okay.
bits and pieces, because I don't ever stick to one language. I'm a Finglish, so my Finglish is my language. Somali, Finglish, English, and Finnish. I mix all those three together all the time. It's hard for me to just stick to one. But the podcast is in English and Finnish,
Cool.
just mixed in together like this.
Cool. What's the podcast called?
It's called KLO, podcast, but it can be found in Spotify if you write Kelet Ophemia, Kelet Lola Ophemia podcast. Spotify and iTunes, I think, and Google Play.
Thank you for telling us about it. And I know Susani, on the sort of topic of queer elders in the community, you have an exciting new film project about the sort of generational histories of the LGBTQ movement in Finland.
Yeah, it's actually where the film is ready. It's an animation about Jussi, who is a 70-year-old man that was the founder, was one of the founders of SETA, which is an organization that kind of fought for the rights of LGBT communities in Finland. So he was one of the founders, and the story tells, his story when he was 15, 16, and he thought that, he would never be able to love in this country. And it's an animation, which is really exciting. It was really interesting to work with animation because we are going through Jussi's memories. So we had to bring them to life. And it was very important to work with that story also. And I feel like it was connected somehow to Kelet's story also, because you see, kind of all of the fighting that older generations have been, doing in order for us younger generations, for Kelet's generation to be able to be where they are, So it's been beautiful to do that research and tell that story. And we of course we still have a lot of work to do, and we continue.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much work to do, and you're both doing such incredible work. And thank you so much for sharing your time and your story.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I hope that someday we can have you at the Arab Film Festival in San Francisco, where the ballroom scene is also very active, and they will welcome the Face Queen of Finland.
Oh yes, I can't wait.
With open arms and their highest platform shoes.
Oh my gosh.
And we have one question from an audience member. Laura wants to know how the film has been received locally and internationally, and if that's been different. We spoke about that a bit earlier, but maybe if you want to tell us about the impact of the film locally in your lives internationally, right before we say goodbye, we'll hear that and then we'll say goodbye.
I mean, for me, I was shocked by how positive the response was locally. First of all, I was expecting that the stadium would not even be filled as it was, but it was a full house. All of the seats were filled from the premiere all the way until the final showing of the festival. And even from the Somali community that I was scared would take it very negatively, it's been nothing but positive comments locally and internationally. I have Somalis from the United States, Africa itself, other places in Europe getting in contact saying, hey, it's been an inspiration. And not even just Somalis, just LGBT people in general all over the world, and people that are not part of the LGBT community as well all over the world, getting in touch. A lot of film festivals. This is not the first overseas film festival that has got in touch with us. I think the only place we have not been asked to do is now Asia. Everything else, and the icy continent, Antarctica, Otherwise, every continent we have done a film festival or something of the like there. So it has shocked me how well it was received locally and worldwide.
And you know what? This is the first time that, a Black trans woman has told her story in a movie in Finland. So, like I said, Kelet made history, her story, in Finland. It's a huge step mark for us, for our society, and the love we got, the support that Kelet got. It's been amazing in Finland, and we got awards. Um, the audience's most favorite movie, because people really were touched by Kelet. And uh, and for me, that we are here with you, Beshouy, talking. I never thought that this would happen, or of course, you somewhere hope that the story, that Kelet's story, is gonna reach as many people as possible. But I never thought that we're going to get so much love, that people support us, support Kelet with such big amounts. And for me, it's kind of like, wow, it's not just the community in Finland that's showing support. We are, we have a big family now all over the world, kind of, and that is really beautiful.
You do. You're worldwide. You're worldwide, and it's such a powerful story. And we believe in powerful and beautiful stories. And again, from the bottom of my heart, like, thank you. This film touched me.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that we're getting to share it. People have until March 30th to watch it as a part of our showcase. So do that. Send it to your friends. And thank you so much for sharing your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beshouy. I hope we meet one day, face to
You
face.
too.
I know we will. I know we will. I want to give you a big hug that day, both of you.
Us too.
So until then, everybody take care. Wear your masks. We're turning a corner, and on the other side are beautiful things waiting for us. So have a lovely evening, you two. It's getting late in Helsinki.
Thank you. We're just about to head off to sleep, probably. It's about that time. So have a nice day, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.